Hey guys, Thunder E here, and I'm back with another NAS video. Now, not Nas the rapper, but this is the Synology DS1618 Plus. Now, what's interesting about this video is I'm not going to do a typical review here because I wanted to see something different. How does a regular consumer use a networked storage system like the 1618 Plus? Now, I decided to get the help of my buddy Marian Sells, who is a professional photographer, and of course he owns his own business and he needs a lot of storage space for what he does. So I decided to let him try this out, use it on his own, and see how it works. But before we get to that, just a little bit about the 1618 Plus from Synology. It's the latest, basically I should say, small business owner prosumer NAS. It has a 6-bay drive, and you can go up to 12 terabytes per bay. It comes with 4 gigs of RAM. You can expand that to 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4 RAM. Also has an Intel Atom processor. It is a quad-core processor called the 2.1 gigahertz. Of course, gigabit Ethernet built into it. They've got 2 Ethernet ports at the back. And this thing is pretty nice in terms of course, network storage solutions. Now, you can expand it up to 16 bays, adding an extra 10 with the base solution. And I think that's pretty cool. But of course, you guys know I know this quite well. So let's see how Marian actually handles sending this up by himself, using it by himself with zero help from me, because I figured, hey, you might as well try it out. So guys, as I mentioned, it is kind of useless for me to show you the setup process again for a Synology NAS, because I've done quite a few videos on that. So I decided to reach out to Marian here, who's helped me with a lot of those awesome photo videos for different smartphones. Go check them out. And first thing, Marian, when I said, would you like to use a Synology server, what was the reason for you saying yes?
So as a photographer, I produce a lot of data when I have shoots. And at the end of the day, I come home with my hard drives and I put that data onto a space where it can be saved permanently. Basically, I had a mirrored hard drive situation. It was a lot of manual labor to get my files on one hard drive and mirror this one to the next hard drive until they're full and they go somewhere where they're somewhat accessible. And I thought that the Synology NAS might actually simplify that part of my work process a lot. So that was the reason.
Yeah, so we set up the 1618 Plus, bumped it up to 16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah,
16 gigs of RAM on that bad boy. How much storage do you have on there?
I have 4 12 terabyte and 1 8 terabyte hard drive now. So it's like somewhere around the 50s.
Yeah, so there's a lot of storage here, especially for the kind of work he does. Now, tell me about the setup process. How was the setup process for you?
So it was unexpectedly more painful than what I wished it to be, for a few almost fun reasons. So the description of the disk station is basically you connect it to your router, and then you go to the website that's called something like find.synology.me or .com. So I go to the website, find synology.me, I forget a dot, and the website tells me that my Macromedia flash player is out of date. So, and normally I'm super careful with all of that, but I told myself, okay, probably the Synology NAS needs a flash player. So I download Flash Player, I double check, it all seems to be legit, it all seems to be from Adobe, but basically I installed a virus. So that was like how I got started.
And it took so just be careful, guys.
Yes,
pay attention.
Be careful that you're going to like the Synology site. Everything seemed to be right. It took me a whole evening to get rid of the virus, but yeah, that was my start.
I know you had mentioned that you had to call in phone support because there were certain things you wanted to do that you required more manual labor than actual,
yes,
automatic setup process.
So I talked to Synology on the phone several times, and they're really good guys over there. Like you get the impression that they're young, that they're geeky in a good way, as I'm geeky too. They know what they're talking about. They really want to help. It took me almost 3 weeks or a month whenever I had some spare time to take care of it, because you are confronted to a lot of, like, you find yourself in a very technical environment once you start trying to have your files accessible remotely.
Yeah.
It becomes technical. And the phone support, as great as it is also restrictive because they are happy to help you with your Synology, but they're not happy to help you with your router settings. So it became restrictive because I found myself in a universe where I need to know things like DHCP or IPv4 or port 85000, DDNS, DSM, proxy servers, subnet masks, WOL, wake up on LAN, all those things that I've never heard in my life before. So in order to set the NAS up properly, I had to go through at least 6 hours of YouTube videos to get my router working, because I understand that the techs at Synology can't do it for me because it's not their product, the router. But it would be so nice if they came up with a solution for this particular setup environment.
Yeah, I feel like a bad friend because I didn't help him. I mean, I wanted him to give me his honest opinion on how that experience went through. And it seems that that's one thing that Synology needs to improve with their product line.
I think so too, because they could approach a completely different spectrum of clients.
Right.
And it was a challenge, but now I learned a lot.
What are those things that hit the notes for you quite well?
So I almost feel like looking back, I don't remember how I did without the Synology NAS. I actually really love it. It makes my life, my digital life, a lot easier and a lot of perspectives. Because for me, it was always a little painful to get my files that I just shot that day into a safe environment. And now it's so easy. I just come home, I plug the drive to the server if it's a lot of data, and copy everything. Or I actually do it wirelessly if it's only, let's say, 100 gigabytes, and I know that the computer can work through the night. It's like, don't think about it anymore. The way I'm working with Apple computers, the way the Finder connects to the Synology, it's really nice because you basically have just a folder that is like a regular folder in Finder that you can drop your files to. Really straightforward. Yeah. So I really enjoy that. And those are just the professional parts of what I enjoy about the Synology. Then I also installed a Plex server, which is great because my Roku can connect to it, and I have a projector. So basically, I can start watching films remotely with I could watch them on my telephone when I'm somewhere around, but I don't really do that. It's more about the projector. I can watch my data, my film. That's really fun.
Oh, that's nice. Now, the other thing you mentioned was the storage capacities. You said you like the fact that the hybrid SHR gave you better compatibility for your different hard drives. Because if you guys recall, you mentioned you had 2 different sizes of hard drives.
Yes.
So can you explain just more about how that actually fit for you quite well?
Yes. So what I did before the Synology was I did a RAID 0 or RAID 1 mirror.
Yeah.
RAID 1, I think. So I had 2 identical hard drives of all my data, like sets of 2 identical hard drives. So when I looked at Synology, I looked at their RAID systems, and
it's called SHR.
Yeah. So I was thinking using RAID 5, which is a RAID system where you ideally have a lot of same size drives, and it allows you to have one drive to fail, and the data is going to be reassembled through the other drive. So you don't lose a lot of storage capacity. And I think that the drives are also giving you faster access to your data because they're spinning in the same time. So the computer is reading from several drives at once when it accesses different files. And the only downside of RAID 5 is that you can't really go ahead and mix different size drives. And that's where the SHR, the Synology SHR, comes in and actually allows you to upgrade your drives in size. It does not allow you to downgrade. So if you're starting with a 4 terabyte drive, then the smallest you can ever use is a 4 terabyte drive. But you can upgrade. You can go bigger and bigger and bigger. You take like a 4 terabyte out, put an 8 terabyte in, or you actually expand the whole station. In this case, the 1618, it comes with 6 storage spaces. You can expand it to another 10 storage spaces. Yeah. Or you can just wait until hard drives become cheaper and bigger, and then get more storage out of it. But this SHR system seemed to be the most useful one to go with.
Because it sounds like you are now a Synology user.
Yes, I'm a fanboy.
Okay, sorry, fanboy. My bad. So what's your final takeaway on the 1618 Plus? Yeah. And then what would you like Synology to improve? I think we know what one of them is at least.
Yes, I think so. So generally, my take is awesome. Like it's really helpful for me. Being in a remote place, still being able to access all my data. If a client needs a file, I can just go ahead, even with the telephone, go in there, send a link, and that's dealt with. It's fantastic. Downside, as I said, like, setting it up was more painful than expected. It took me much longer. Phone support is great, but restricted to only helping you with the particular product and not with the environment around that product. I think that's the particular point which Synology could do better. And if they actually ameliorated this, maybe if they actually put something inside the DiskStation manager that made it easier to get set up, then that would be the best thing they could do in order to make this more accessible for more users that are not necessarily only professional users.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, so there you heard it from Marian's mouth, not mine. You guys trust him more than I do nowadays anyway. The DS1618 Plus is a great NAS system to use. Setup can be difficult, but I think if you're looking for a NAS system and one that you can expand from just 6 bays with an additional 10 bays as well, then this goes a long way for you. So if you have any questions or any comments, let us know and we'll try and answer them for you. If it's too technical, we will forward you over to Synology. Otherwise, don't forget to like and share this video. Follow Mr. Marian Sell on Instagram. I have a link for his Instagram page there so you guys can check it out. Make some awesome photos. And thank you very much, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Thank you.